Hello everyone and welcome to a thrilling game from round 6 of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour finals. It's Levon Aronian versus Jan-Krzysztof Duda, and the game features something that happens very rarely in chess, even rarer on the absolute top level, but it happens nonetheless. So without further ado, let's check it out and see what I'm talking about. So Levon with the white pieces opens with e4. We have e6 by Duda going for the French defense, d4, we have d5, knight to c3, and the bishop to b4. Now the Winawer variation of the French. We have e5 advancing the pawn, and now c5. So this is all very standard stuff. a3 challenging the bishop. We have a trade here, captures, and now knight to e7. And while there are many moves that the white could play here, like knight to f3, h4, even a4, queen to g4 is still by far the most played move. So we're going after the g7 pawn, and black can choose to defend it. Castling is perfectly fine here. In fact, castling is the main move here in the position, and then you just invite in white to go after it. For example, you castle, and if some like bishop to h6, you don't really have to worry about anything because you have knight to f5, attacking the bishop, guarding g7. So it's perfectly fine. But after this, we have queen to c7, and here Duda opts for the so-called poison pawn variation of the Winawer French and offers the g7 pawn. Levon grabs it, we have queen captures on g7, attacks the rook on h8, rook to g8, and now queen captures on h7. So grabbing another pawn, but now c captures on d4. The rook is nicely protected by the knight, and we're threatening queen captures on c3 to win material and the game. So here, knight to e2, just defending c3, and knight b to c6. Duda continues development while putting pressure on the e5 pawn. Once again, if you go after this grab with queen captures on e5 right away, then you allow c captures on d4, bishop to f4. You just allow white to develop a lot of pieces, and you still have to finish your development. So instead, knight b to c6. This has been proven to be the best. We have f4 now, guarding e5, and only now d captures on c3. We have queen back to d3 now, putting pressure on the c3 pawn, and d4, defending the c3 pawn but sacrificing the d4 pawn. So this frees up the d5 square for the black knight. Also, if captures and queen captures, you can bring the knight to f5 with an attack on the queen. So it definitely makes sense to give back some material to further develop your pieces. So here we have knight captures. This is by far the best move. Knight captures, queen captures, and now bishop to d7. Just nicely continuing development. And here you could play a lot of things. You can develop the bishop. For example, the g2 pawn would hang, so you could play rook to g1, you could play rook to b1, put pressure on this on this file. But here we have queen to d6, offering a queen trade, and this has been played only once, where the queen trade was accepted. But here Duda goes queen to a5, he declines the trade, and it is now, as of move 15, that we have a completely new game. So here Levon again offers the trade with queen to b4, and Duda again declines. He plays queen to d5, and now you can't really offer a queen trade right away. You could play something like queen to c4, but then black would very happily trade, and then if bishop captures, we could capture the g2 pawn. So maybe not the greatest way of offering a trade, but you could capture on c3, for example, or just, a continued development with rook to g1. But here we have a4 by Levon, preparing bishop to a3 to put some pressure along this diagonal, and now knight to f5, just bringing a knight to an excellent square, and now you're very close to the white king, and it's not easy for white to make a move. But moves like queen captures on c3 that definitely come to mind. But here Levon just continued like nothing was happening. He played bishop to a3, and indeed he has insane pressure here. If the knight is somehow dislodged, for example, bishop d3 captures, queen to e7 will be checkmate. But there's a problem. Duda has a winning move here, so feel free to pause the video and win the game for Duda while I give you a couple of seconds. So congratulations to everyone who found it. I don't really think you needed a couple of seconds for this one, as it's mate in one. So congratulations to everyone who found it, as everyone found it. Well, just in case, to those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's queen to d2, and this is now checkmate. So that's mate in one. Levon had a playable position. Okay, black is definitely somewhat better here, but Still, a move like bishop to a3, you guys are wondering how could a player like Levon, a former member of the 2800 club, miss such an idea. It's something that happens quite often in chess when you take into consideration the number of games that are being played daily online. It's up until 3 moves ago, we had a known position, and both, of course, Aronian and Duda know this position very well. And these ideas, a4, they exist in pretty much every line of the Winawer French, just clearing your a3 square for the bishop, and it does make sense. Black does not have a dark square bishop. Of course, you want to try and exploit black's dark square weaknesses, and here Levon just had the impression that he was still in the protected waters of theory, when in fact he wasn't. He just continued development. He wanted to play some like rook to d1, maybe put more pressure on black's position, but it just happens that he blundered mate in 1, and it happens. We've seen it many times. We often mention that Ivanchuk versus Anand game, or Kramnik against the Deep Fritz, or Karpov versus Barev. So there's not a player that hasn't done something like this. Maybe not a mate, but a terrible blunder like this. But it does happen. But I think what happened here was just that you were protected by theory at some point, and then you didn't start using your head at the right moment. You kind of thought you were still protected, but you weren't. So that's what I think that happened here. If you guys have any other ideas, always please do share. Your replies are more than welcome. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Levon most certainly didn't. It's a tough start, but he still has 3 more games to equalize, so we'll see what happens. I would like to wish a happy birthday to Alistair Fitzgerald, and I would like to thank Ondrej František, Balkovic Enterprises, Ben McGrablian, and Aaron Anderson for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing with some more games from this wonderful tournament, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day, and I really hope all of you found this pause the video moment. See you soon.